Next order of business is recognitions and acknowledgements, and I assume, Dr. Hill, there's nothing that you have for tonight? The next item is audience to visitor, and I think they're tag teaming again, Kevin and Alexis.
Good evening. This is Alexis Shack from the Superintendent's Office. If there is anyone from the public who would like to address the board, you may do so in two different ways. If you are using the Zoom application on your mobile device or computer, you may enter your comments into the Q&A feature located at the bottom of the Zoom menu bar, or you may raise your hand on your computer if your device has a microphone by selecting the participant's icon on the Zoom menu bar and then clicking Raise Hand, or by dialing *9 on your phone. You will be given 3 minutes to speak. Please state your name and address. When you are called on, you will be promoted to panelist. After you make your comments, you will return to attendee status. For clear communication, we ask that you do not place the call on speakerphone. No comments can be made against the employees of the school district or children outside of your own. So I do have someone that has their hand raised.
Okay, I think I'm going to start as I usually do with people who are in the boardroom, and then we'll go to that. And again, for people in the boardroom, most of you who may speak know that after 2.5 minutes, Mr. Lockhart will raise a red card indicating you have 30 seconds, and after the 3-minute mark, he'll leave that held until hopefully you've wrapped up your remarks. And for people who are calling in, if you don't see the red card, Mr. Lockhart will indicate when the 3 minutes is up. So is there anyone who wants to address the board who are in the boardroom? Going once, going twice, okay. Alexis, anybody remotely?
Yes, I have one.
Okay.
So,
You unmute. Yeah. You know you can speak. You're on.
Hi, my name is Christina Chappell, and I live at 1 East Lane in Bloomfield. Can everyone hear me?
Yep.
Yes.
All right, well, I'm going to get started. 3 minutes is not a lot of time to talk, so I just want to get straight to the point. Oliver Ellsworth has a substantial mold problem. This problem began at least 4 years ago, but has since escalated to a full-blown crisis. In the past 2 years, concerned teachers have reported instances of mold growing on classroom fixtures, furniture, bulletin boards, iPads, chairs, furniture, and other surfaces that our kids touch each day. These items have repeatedly been collected and cleaned or disposed of by custodial staff, yet the mold is continuing to persist year after year. These concerns have been brought to all level of administrators, and the solution has been to clean these items and to replace them, either at the cost of the district or the cost of the teachers. Let me say that again, sometimes at the cost of a classroom teacher. The problem continued to escalate, so OSHA and the Labor Board have been contacted, either anonymously by concerned teachers or families who are worried about the health of our students and teachers. And Eagle Environmental has come twice to review those concerns, most recently in August 2022. The report indicates that there is mold in some classrooms, but it is technically legal. In my classroom in specific, room 25, there's been no visible mold or growth, but possible efflorescence. For those who aren't aware like me, efflorescence is salt growth on porous materials. I'm no biologist, but I'm pretty certain I know the difference between salt and mold. In addition to consultations outside of the environmental agency, I've been told many times that mold is everywhere, that I shouldn't be worried, and that only some people are allergic. Don't worry though, I could just take some allergy medicine and I'd be good to go, because technically it's legal. I am not and was not satisfied with those answers, so I swabbed samples from my classroom fixtures and furniture and sent them to my own lab, which of course confirmed that mold was indeed found. Cladosporium was found, which could cause type 1 allergies and hypersensitivity of the lungs. Penicillin and aspergillus fruit was also found and can cause type 1 and type 2 allergies. It can also be responsible for very serious respiratory fungal infections. Our mold problem is directly related to our chiller and ventilation system. I keep hearing that it's going to be expensive to repair. But when we talk about price, let's see what's more expensive. Replacing classroom furniture repeatedly, purchasing dehumidifiers to cover up excess moisture in our classrooms and hallways, or perhaps the medical expense of our staff and our students who are allergic to mold or who can't shake their lingering recurring chronic infections or lingering hacking coughs. Or perhaps it's the cost of trying to hire new teachers because our dedicated teachers need to choose their own health over multi classrooms that are technically legal. I say all of this to say, I keep hearing us champion that Windsor, we are Windsor with an emphasis on the win.
30
But here
seconds.
we are not being transparent and potentially putting costs over the safety and well-being of our own staff, our students, and our community. We are Windsor. We are looking more like Flint, Michigan. We are looking more like Jackson, Mississippi. We are better than this, and I implore you to look into our mold crisis before it's too late. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Anyone else who would like to address the board? Anything in the chat?
No, President Ferry, there are no more individuals.
Okay, thank you. Without anyone wishing to address the board, I'm going to close audience to visitor without objection. It's closed. Next item is the consent agenda. Are there items that need to be pulled? Paul, I was looking for you for something.
Okay.
Just kidding, just kidding.
The financial report out. I'm sure that I'll have a question there, but no, I don't think at this point.
Okay.
yet.
Then is there a motion?
Mr. President, I move the Board of Education approve the consent agenda items 4A through C, which is the financial report, enrollment report, food service report, and the human resources report.
Is there a second?
A second?
Any discussion? Seeing and hearing none. All those in favor of the motion made by Mr. Lockhart, seconded by Mr. Panos, for the approval of all the items on the consent agenda, say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay.
Mr.
Abstention?
Wilson said aye. He verbally said aye.
Okay, so the ayes have it. Vote is 9-0-0. Next item, approval of minutes.
Thank you, President Fury. I move the Board of Education approve the minutes of the September 20th, 2022 regular meeting and the October 4th, 2022 special meeting.
Is there a second, Mr. Panos? Any discussion? Motion's been made to approve the minutes of September 20th, 2022 and October 4th, 2022 by Ms. Taylor, seconded by Mr. Panos. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Abstentions? Mr. Wollaston?
Aye, sorry, trying to type it in too slow.
Thank you. Vote carries 9-0-0. Next item is student representative report.
I apologize in advance. My voice is a bit rough tonight. Recently in Windsor High School, we had Student Governance Council elections. For those of you who do not know, the School Governance Council is a board of administrators, parents, teachers, Board of Education representatives, and 2 student representatives. The student presence on the School Governance Council is of high importance as it provides an area for student voice in the goings-on of Windsor High School. With that said, this year there was a very low turnout of students who ran for the School Governance Council, and many students are unaware of what the SGC is or what it does. This is the result of ineffective communication methods of engaging the student body. Though email is convenient and allows for quick communication with a wide reach, it is not the most effective way to engage the student body. Many students do not check the emails that are sent to them, therefore they miss information such as that of the School Governance Council. My suggestion is while continuing to send out the emails, any information that is of great importance to students should be advertised through methods which students are more likely to use at the Windsor High School. It would be such as the Dub Hub, which students watch daily. As I have concluded from interviewing my peers, it seems as though this outlet of communication is best at engaging the students. While not all students will be engaged through this method, it is the best available communication resource we have as we work to develop better ones. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there questions for our student representative? Ms. Taylor, I know you're on the Governance Council as well, so I'll give you I'll give you an opportunity to maybe weigh in or talk about this.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. I'm hoping that that's something that can be addressed within the administration there about, because we often know things that we try to let the community know. We say you need to do it in more than one way, 2 or 3 ways, especially if you're talking about reaching students. The Dub Hub, which I know is back up and again and running again, is a good way, as long as, I would hope most students do watch it, but they may not get it in their period because sometimes some teachers don't show it. So I know occasionally that does happen, but students know where to find it. So that would be a good suggestion of how to advertise that. And probably also to work with the other officers of the different classes to make sure that they know that this is a great platform that's been available to students. And I know we've had great student input over the years, as I was a liaison for a couple of years there as well. So thank you. And as I think we've told you before, if you'd like to stay for the rest of the meeting, you're welcome to, but when knowing your course load, I would understand if you need to go home, so.
Welcome. Feel better.
Yeah.
You too.
Next item on the agenda is the President's Report. We had a great coffee chat that Dr. Hill has been doing through the community just before this meeting. And some issues that came up are kind of consistent with what Dr. Hill has basically said, and I think the board has echoed as well, the importance to everybody to do better. People are back in school now. We need the parents to support their students. We need the teachers to be doing what they need to do, and we have our representative from one of the co-presidents here as well, from the WEA. Everybody's got a role to play. It's not pointing just to one party or other. And the importance, too, of supporting our teachers and our staff, because as Dr. Hill just recently said, we want our students to do well. We need to have the staff in a good frame of mind and being able to teach. Consistent with that, the Pequannock newsletter that just came out this past week had a nice short video which was called 3 Roles Parents Can Play in Supporting their Education of Their Students. One was to support them, and that can mean different things. It can mean something as simple as making sure that they understood the homework, that they did have homework, that they did it, that they have a good night's sleep, that they have a meal at the end of the day, they have a meal in the morning, and getting ready for them and talking to them about the importance of education and why you're going to school. And then second item in that was to monitor the progress of your student. That means communication not only with your student, but with your teacher of your student. And the third item was to be an advocate. Be an advocate for your child and possibly for other children. And these may seem very simple, but when life gets very hectic and busy, and we know that happens, there are different ways to do all 3 of these things, and I thank Mr. Mahalko and others at Pequannock for including that video. We have Veterans Day celebrations coming up November 11th. It's Veterans Day, and a number of years ago, a decision was made to have school on Veterans Day. And it was a little controversial years before, but there was work with the different veteran groups in town about why that decision was made. And I think there are age-appropriate presentations in all of the schools. I've always found them when I've gone very inspiring, and it's great that we do that. And so it's just not a day that you have a day off, that you often forget why people had the day off. And so I applaud the schools for doing the Veterans Day assemblies that are coming up. I had on my report buses, and I didn't have anything to add because we'll be talking about that later on in our meeting. Kind of a shout out to Windsor High School and something I happened to see on the Dub Hub today, or maybe yesterday as well. There's an opportunity for students to go to a manufacturing business in town called Leipold Inc., I believe. It's an open house there on October 20th from 5 to 7 o'clock. And I went onto their website and saw all the different kind of CNC machining, computer numeric controlled machining that they do there. And I thought again of some of our interest in vocational and CTE training. And so I applaud the school for making those opportunities, because we will later be talking, when we look at the program of studies, of some of the different pathways and opportunities we have within the CTE program. And I saw through, there's a Zoom through, I think, Junior Achievement for November 2nd to have a look at the insurance industry. I know Dr. Hill, when he was at High School Inc., was very connected with the businesses in Hartford. And again, this could be another pathways. We have so many, we're maybe not the insurance capital anymore in Hartford, but we still have a number of insurance companies. So opportunities like this are great. And so I applaud the high school for doing that. The last item, on a sad note, I want to acknowledge and condolences to the family of Dar McCormick, who was a longtime teacher in the district, I believe at Sage Park and maybe JFK as well.
Yeah.
And I think my daughter had her at 1 year, and clearly she's passed away too soon. So again, condolences to her family. And that's all I have. Are there any questions about my report? Ms. Taylor?
I definitely want to send our condolences. I too had her. And so hearing that, classmates of mine were all stunned. I don't know, I feel like I'm still a kid again when you hear, someone that you knew when you were, a little kid coming up. And she was excellent educator and always around, and coached sports as well. Very, very engaged, and grew up in Windsor herself. So my condolences as well.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda is 7B, review of the DATCO contract with a possible action. Is there a motion?
President, I move that the Board of Education seek guidance regarding the DATCO bus contract from the district attorneys, Shipman and Goodwin.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Lockhart, second by Mr. Panos. Mr. Lockhart, I'll give you first crack at starting the discussion on this.
Thank you, Mr. President. I believe there's support across all 9 seats of this board about concerns about the busing issues. And we have recently just re-entered into a new contract with DATCO. We expressed concerns as a board at the end of the last academic year. And the board is still expressing those concerns with a little bit more angst this academic year. And in order for us to really go into this without the president making a unilateral decision and spending district funds, we found it fit as an executive committee that the board goes on record supporting you to make sure that if you are spending any legal funds, that this board is supporting you in that action to see what is the best support we can provide to the superintendent in the district in regards to this bus contract and any enforcement.
Thank you. Anyone else want to speak to the motion?
Yes, thank you.
Mr. Panos?
Yeah. We have the contract, we reviewed it, page 37 covers some things, about, well, let's see, why don't we talk about page 35, or contractor's default. It says if we basically, if at any time, the bus company has failed to provide the level of services required under the contract, then the board shall have the right to terminate the contract upon written notice. That is page 33 of this item. That concerns the acts. However, in 37, page 37 Section 21 talks about acts not in control of the contractor. And it says contractor shall not be held responsible for any losses resulting if the fulfillment of the terms of the contract shall be delayed or prevented by wars. It goes to, this part is rather typical: wars, acts of public enemies, fires and floods, acts of God. Now, then it gives a list of inability to secure fuel. That makes sense because we're responsible for fuel. Power, okay, that would be ours. But it goes on for supplies, equipment, and then it says personnel. So this seems to be a bit of an out for them. It kind of complicates things. But, you know, there's a lot to it, non-performance damages and things of this nature. And so it's appropriate that Shipman and Goodwin, who I believe were the ones who wrote the contract, should be able to look through this and see if there is some recourse or some relief. I think we have a performance bond here too. Ms. Batchelder can talk about it. But it does seem like they could go over this with a fine tooth comb or something, and see if they can find something in here or to give us some sort of relief. During the performance meeting, it was intimated that we're having, quite a few kids are not coming to school, and truancy of especially young ones may be due to the fact that the bus doesn't show up, and it's inconvenient, and they don't have a car. That could be contributing a little bit to that problem. So it could have serious implications for us, and I think a review, if nothing else, that we need to know what kind of a contract we should sign in the future. And, I think part of this, would be, for Shipman and Goodwin itself, I don't know how much they're going to charge or how much they should charge, but I'd be, I think this is a worthwhile thing to do, to review it for them. So I'm all for this. Thank you.
Other comments? Ms. Cantor?
I'm for Shipman and Goodwin looking at this contract as well. I've had many people reach out to me about the problems for the 2020, 2021, and even the beginning of this school year, and students are not getting the education because they're not getting to school on time, and we've already had the discussions. By the time they get there, they're upset. They have to eat breakfast, some of them, because they have no breakfast. Then they're late to class. The teachers can't start teaching at that time, and they're already behind. So it puts a really big hardship on the students. It takes away from their learning, and I just think that we should reach out to them, and I believe we pay a retainer fee to Shipman and Goodwin, don't we? So.
We do. I don't know whether or not a review would cover that or not. Right.
But I'm in agreement with this because I think it's unfair. It's unjust to the town of Windsor and the students and the faculty. Thank you.
Other comments?
I'll take my last bite at this.
Okay.
So
Mr. Lockhart.
I've been very transparent about my support of DATCO when they came into the district. This is by no means anything against the drivers. This is strictly business between the district and the provider. I truly believe that this district went above and beyond during COVID to take care of the provider so that the provider could take care of their drivers. And what I'm looking for is something back in return. Don't know what is going to be offered in return, but I believe in good faith effort, we took great care of DATCO at their greatest time of need, when other districts was walking away from there, but when doing other things. So I stand in support of this. I stand in support of allowing our president to act on the board's behalf, along with the superintendent within reason, to bring back any possible solutions, if not for this contract, for anything in the future. But I do believe that there is an out there with that one-term personnel. I'm sure they're going to lean on that very heavily, and as they should. But there's that non-performance where our kids are losing a lot of instruction time on a very consistent basis, and it's quite frankly disruptive to the classroom when the child is getting there late. So we got to find a way to do better and to help the superintendent to get through this process as well. This is totally not on the superintendent to solve on his own. We are the ones that entered into the contract with the said provider, so we need to see what options are available to us. Thank you.
Thank you. Just wanted to point out one, I know Mr. Panos had pointed out a couple provisions, but the scope of the work on the first page of the original contract, midway through 2.1, says the contractor should use its commercially reasonable efforts to furnish such transportation services, including personnel. So what are commercially reasonable efforts and whether or not they fulfilled that duty that's stated there. But clearly, that was probably a provision that DATCO wanted in the contract. The other issue that I would have, not only on, I mean, like, if for some reason they're in default, I don't know how we would get a new contractor if we had a right to default them. The idea is to try to minimize the disruptions that we have, and part of that's on DATCO to try to get more drivers, get them trained. And I don't know, there's a section 20.12 and 20.13 that talks about for regular routes, if someone is on a regular route, it's not one of the doubled up or tripled up routes, and they're late by, I think, 15 minutes or more, we can start to assess liquidated damages. And when liquidated damages under 20.13 reach or exceed $1,500, we can start assessing them, basically fining them. So it would be good to know, whether or not that has been done or we're keeping track of that. And we'd want, Shipman to weigh in not only on a question of that they're in default, but whether or not even some other provisions that they may not be living up to, what are our alternatives? And they may not be great, but I think we're consistently here supporting, something being done. And I know the district is doing many things. I think Dr. Hill may speak about it under the superintendent's report as well. So, yes, Ms. Cantor?
Thank you. And on page 27, it says the district must be notified by telephone when a bus driver is aware that there will be a delay of 15 minutes or more in the transportation of students. It's not happening most of the time. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? Mr. Halleck?
Thank you. I'm also in support of this motion. I just feel that, we owe it to the community to find out what our options are. I think that that's very important for us to be transparent in this process, even if the options are not great. That we at least all tried to take a look into this and figure it out. Thank you.
Any other comments? Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion, which is moving that the Board of Ed seek guidance regarding DATCO contract from District's Attorney Shipman and Goodwin, made by Mr. Lockhart, seconded by Mr. Panos. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Abstentions? I heard Mr. Wollaston say aye, so the ayes have it. The vote is 9-0-0. Next item is school liaison report, starting with Windsor High School. Ms. Taylor.
Thank you, President Fury. I'll be brief. As our student representative mentioned, the SGC has started our first meeting that Mr. Wollaston and I attended last night at Windsor High School with our new group of parents and teachers and new students. We do have 2 new students. It was great to see a freshman and a sophomore representing the student body. And it was just robust conversations about a lot of things that they're going to be working on this year, so stay tuned. But I would say that there are 2 vacancies that I want to stress for the community. We don't have community representation, so for that, you might don't have any children in the district at all, and you're just, maybe retired, or maybe you're an educator and you want to get involved, or maybe you're a business person and would like to give back to the community somehow. But there are 2 vacancies on the SGC, and if you would like to volunteer your time for the monthly meetings and support this amazing group of people, please contact Allison Edwards, who is the Principal Breon Parker's executive assistant. There's so much I guess I could go into. However, if you tune into the Dub Hub, you'll be on point with all that's going on, and there is a lot from homecoming game, I believe, is on the 4th, and homecoming dance on the 5th. It's just a lot of great things happening at Windsor High School. But I definitely wanted to lift, as our student representative, that this is an important body. It's more than I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with the PTOs. I was PTO president. But this group right here is actually a governing body, and they make amazing, amazing changes. We've seen changes in the curriculum come out of this group in the past. So I implore you, if you're watching and you're a community member, to get involved. So that's all I have. Well, we have. I'm speaking on behalf of Mr. Wollaston tonight.
Any questions for Ms. Taylor? Seeing and hearing none, go to Sage Park. First, I'll let Ms. Clays. Okay.
He's been the most consistent serving member as the leader.
Okay. Mr. Halleck.
All right. Thank you. On our let's see, the Scholastic Book Fair is coming up on October 24th. That's going to run from October 24th until October 28th. Reminder, parent-teacher conferences are going to be held October 26th through October 28th. And then we have a TSA parent meeting on November the 2nd from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. And that's all I have to report from Sage Park.
Yep. Ms. Clays.
I'll just add that they also have the Wednesday, October 19th, they'll be hosting the Dads of Great Students, so that's exciting for the school. And they're inducting 30 new members to the National Junior Honor Society, so that's very exciting. And the Builders Club, the Kiwanis group, is conducting a canned food drive, so if you have any canned foods you want to drop off. Thanks.
Thank you. Any questions for Sage? Okay. Next is Clover Street. I saw your picture, Mr. Lockhart, in their weekly paper there.
Yeah, I ruined it,
It's like they were excited to have you.
I was excited to be there. Miss Lee is getting off to a great start at Clover. I walked the whole grounds with her and walked around, just see how she's engaging with the students, the staff. I'm very excited about the new playground. I'm very excited about the fact that some of the unevenness of the playground transition to the pavement and vice versa has all been evened out. I was very thrilled about that. I'm hoping the town can do some things about the erosion and some of when it rains or it gets wet down there, that fill is very unusable at times, and it's a lot of good space that the kids can spread out on and they can't really use. That's not an issue with the district. That's something the town would have to work on. Definitely an eye-opening visit, to say the least. I have not had a chance to actually have a sit-down with the superintendent and brief him on my visit, but I will just say that I did enjoy my visit, and I'm looking forward to sharing some ideas with him in regards of that space. The kids well behaved. The one or two that I saw that were not behaved, Miss Lee has a very special way that to get a person's attention with a look. that commands respect, and that's a good thing. And the teachers actually had great command of all their students. And I came in just in plain clothes, so no one knew me from a can of paint. And it was just very peaceful, kids being kids. You expect that. But overall, it was a great visit, and I'm looking forward to getting to the next Governance Council and PTO meetings. That's all I got.
Great. Any questions about Clover Street? Okay. John F. Kennedy School. Ms. Cantor.
Thank you. They had Fire Prevention Assembly on October 14th, and it was in the auditorium. I think this is a great thing because kids don't always remember how to get out of the room, out of the house, and what to do, how to drop and roll on a carpet. And so I think it's really good that they do this every year, and I really appreciate the fire department going in and teaching to them. Also, Picture Day is going to be October 24th. And they also have in the cafeteria lost articles of clothing, and you have to pick them up before the end of the month because they donate them. So if you're missing something, you need to get there before then. Otherwise, you'll have to purchase it again, and we don't want to have to do that. Students will still receive their free breakfast and free lunch through October 31st. And Ms. Michno is looking for volunteers for the upcoming school book fair, and it's going to be during the conference week. So they need day and night volunteers. So if anybody could volunteer, that would be great. And I will give you her email address if you can help her out. It's JM as in Mary I, CHN as in Nancy O at windsorconnecticut.org. So thank you.
Ms. Taylor?
I'm on PTO, and and I'm happy to say that we are full. All slots have been filled, but you can still slide through and help because at JFK we love our book fair. So I would say probably the high need is conference night is when it's a lot of folks in the book fair. So if you do want to slide through and you've done it before, I would say even if you're not signed up, we could always use more help. But I did check last night and we are at capacity. So thank you.
Awesome. Any other comments about JFK? Okay, Oliver Ellsworth, Ms. Galinsky.
Thank you. I'll keep this short and sweet. Piggybacking off of what Ms. Taylor had mentioned about the School Governance Council meeting, Oliver Ellsworth has their very first one for this school year on Thursday, October 20th. It is virtual. It's from 6 to 7, so please, anybody, come and join it. It's very good. It's very informative, and like Ms. Taylor said, a lot of changes can happen and take place there. And then secondly, they are having their second annual Trunk or Treat, which is happening on Friday, October 28th. That's from 5:30 to 7. So this is only open to families who have students at Oliver Ellsworth. If you have a student with older siblings, younger siblings, they can all come, which is awesome. But you have to sign up. You can sign up via paper or even online, and it's $10 a car, and it's a great time. It's an awesome time to just be able to come out and socialize. So thank you.
Any questions? Any questions for Oliver Ellsworth? Okay. Next, Mr. Panos, Pequannock School.
Thank you. I understand the PTO is busy. It's very active. They have a Lyman Pie fundraiser, so you can place your order here and get these. But whatever the price is for Board of Ed members, it's twice as, we double it. But they have not just strawberry rhubarb, they have something called bumbleberry. So yeah, this has got to be really good. They have, of course, they're going to do the Veterans Day at 9:30 in the morning. I will be there, but not in uniform. They have their school store is opening, and little items, $1 a piece, pencils and bookmarks and all that sort of thing will be going on. They have planned a dress like the character from a book you like. This is at the end of the month, and they've had some good. I saw some videos that they showed for SEL on being kind. I could use a little of that, and so, they're doing well. I think the Principal Mahalko says that their first assessments show that they're doing quite well. So The PTO, though, is looking for room parents, and so anyone who's in the Pequannock district and wants to do that should please contact the PTO. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for Pequannock? Okay. Next item on the agenda is Superintendent's Report. Dr. Hill.
Thank you, Mr. President. As you alluded to, I had my first coffee talk last month, and it was at the Bean in the center of town. And I would like to just thank them again publicly for supplying all the people who came out with free coffee. That was a surprise, but I want to also encourage everyone to support our local business, the Bean, right there in the center of town. They've been 2 years in a row. They've been great hosts, and we want to make sure we look out for our local businesses. Also, one of the topics that came up from one of the participants brought about a change. So we've created a Windsor Public Schools VIP Warrior Pass, and that would be for Windsor senior residents, those 65 and older. So what this pass does is it's a physical pass, and it'll allow them to get into all of our sporting events for free. So a resident had asked us about some of the changes we had made at our football games to kind of curb some of the extra activity. And by no means was it meant to keep any of the residents out, but just her asking the question, the idea came up, like, why don't we just create a senior pass? They don't have to worry about anything. They have a pass that they can get from us for free, and it will allow them to get into all of our sporting events. And to get the pass, you can contact Jana Gill at ggill, Gill, at WindsorCT, all one word, windsorct.org. Or you can check the district website to follow up. Our Office of Family and Community Partnerships has been quite busy and is being led by Ms. Christina Morales. They had a presentation at the Hartford Foundation, and which is a primary funder of that office, and it focused on the evaluation findings for the last 2 years of the grant work implemented. Hartford Foundation was very pleased by the presentation, posting on LinkedIn, professional network platform highlighting the efforts of the leaders in the offices. The 50-page final evaluation report is posted on our website. We had a team of 3 at the State Department of Education Family Engagement Session for the Performance Matters Conference regarding parent-teacher home visits as an equity strategy. Principal Mahalko and second grade teacher Sydney Mercier co-presented with Christina Morales. 165 attendees, of which 2 rounds of 25 people participated in their session. State Department of Education sent Dr. Oliver, sent an email to Dr. Oliver communicating a job well done. Additionally, we launched the Parent-Teacher Home Visit Week, September 19th through the 24th, for the first time this year in support of the national organization, a Go Hard push to build trusting relationships with families. Throughout the last 2 months, our schools have submitted 52 visits from Sage Park Middle School, Pequannock, and Oliver Ellsworth. Final report coming in November. The office submitted an application on a family engagement promising practice highlighting the volunteer appreciation event that we held last spring. It was accepted in the Johns Hopkins National Network of Partnership Schools Promising Practices 2022 booklet. So we're hitting the national scene. There are a collection of 39 activities from schools, districts, and organizations in 9 states and Ireland. The booklet is online and can also be found on our district website. Windsor Public Schools supported and attended the Black SEL Summit in North Carolina, put on by Danger of the Mind Education Fund. Our WHS alumni, Kristen Hopkins, is the founder and CEO of that organization. Ashley Matthews, social worker at OE, is her sister. Dr. Mallory, Christina Morales, and parent from Sage Park were in attendance. Dr. Mallory presented on how SEL is being implemented district-wide in a breakout session, and Christina Morales was given an award for her commitment to elevating African-American voices in SEL. A grant was submitted to the Connecticut Family School Partnership Network to support an SEL Family Engagement Forum. Details soon to come. That grant has been approved for $7,000. The office program assistant and a team of community stakeholders, including Talcott Resolutions, Trinity Church, and AP Derry Thomas from the high school, presented on how grant funds would be implemented to other district leadership teams. The CFSP is a statewide federally funded network to support districts implementing family engagement and community partnership best practice strategies. The district received a generous donation from Corey Turner Home Improvement Contractors in Glastonbury. Their recent Gear Up for Fall event, which promotes being prepared for the colder months ahead of scheduling roofing projects before fall, has concluded. For each project scheduled during the event, Turner donates to the client's local public schools, thus helping the students gear up for fall. In addition, they kick off their event by donating to each of the employees' local schools. This year, Turner Home Improvement Contractors donated $400 to Windsor Public Schools. The money will be used for a book vending machine similar to a food vending machine at Clover Street School. Students will earn coins and then be able to pay for, it's not real money, with fake money, a new book from the vending machine. Last Thursday, the district hosted the Windsor Public Schools portion of the town's initiative Citizens Academy. Community members heard about our schools through the principals, and tours were given of the Windsor High School building by the Windsor High School assistant principals. I'd like to thank Ms. Anita Drewbury and those folks for setting this up. It was actually a pretty nice event. It was my first time interacting with the Citizens Academy, and it seems as though folks really enjoyed themselves. There were a number of Windsor High alums, and so I guess I've never been back to my high school, but I think it's kind of cool. People come back to their high school, and it's different for them, so they all giddy like Miss Taylor over there. So they were excited. I had my second coffee talk just prior to this meeting this evening. We had a pretty large turnout tonight, and I was excited about that because there wasn't this, blazing, super hot issue to deal with. Normally, you get big crowds when there's an issue and everyone's all upset, but it was nice to have folks come out to the coffee talk tonight, and there was also a lot of new faces, so it was very exciting. The next coffee talk will be Tuesday, December 13th, and it'll be from 10 to 11 a.m. in the LPW auditorium. Oh, it's nice. My baby's birthday. So my oldest turns 30 that day. She's probably gonna be so embarrassed. Windsor High alum, 2011. So that's her, I just noticed that. Oh, okay. Got to be a dad sometime. Seems like I'm superintendent all the time, but I am a dad. Love my kids too. So DATCO update will come. I know you guys just love talking about DATCO, so we're going to talk some more about DATCO. Very shortly, I'm going to have Ms. Batchelder present some more, and also on our hiring openings. So, Ms. Batchelder?
Okay, so, sorry. Put these down here. So a couple things with DATCO. Obviously, I will be reaching out to Shipman and Goodwin tomorrow regarding the contract to see everything or anything that they can do or advise us. I wanted to give you an update because I know we've gone back and forth on how late buses are communicated out to families. So I talked to each individual school principal as well as each individual school principal admin assistant because it's one of them who are really doing those initial calls in the early morning. So I was happy to see that every single school, either the principal was or assistant principal was making that call, that robocall from home before they even got into work, because that email comes from DATCO by 6 a.m. So, and this is more elementary level that we're really talking about. And then other schools, some of those admin assistants come in a little earlier, around 7:30, so they will do them right when they get in. It's the first thing they do. One of the interesting things that I actually dove into today, which was pretty eye-opening, with our system. So we have what we called our school messenger. It's not school messenger, but it's like a school messenger that goes out. It's through ThrillShare. So I never had access to ThrillShare until today. So Gianna Gill, our communications guru, hooked me up and really gave me a down and dirty of how it works. So when I went and looked, I could actually see everything that every school sends. So I could not make sure they're telling me the truth, but make sure they're going out every morning. And they absolutely are. But the interesting part of it was how many failed attempts we have. And so when I start digging into the system, so just for an example, at Clover Street School, every time that message is sent, they get 99 failed attempts. So that's 99 families that are not getting the message. So when you go dig a little deeper, that means the information in Power School is not accurate. So when you dig a little deeper again, that is our push every spring. Actually, we started in, I think, January through June, because every single year, parents need to go back on, and I'm not trying to blame parents at all, I don't mean it like this, but we can only do what we have information from. If you do not update your contact in Power School and all your demographics every single year, I do it as a parent in my district, we're going to be sending all of the messages to numbers that aren't getting to you. So that's just an example of just Clover Street having 99 failed, yes, you're correct, emails, phone messages, text messages, failed attempts that we don't know that you're not getting. So Gianna was then going to work with our IT department to see if we could dig down even deeper to really get the specifics of what is wrong. What was the failed? Was it a number? Was it a text? Was it an email? And then, I mean, we literally just have to start calling families one to one and saying you need to update your information. Yes.
Thank you. I know last year I had sent you a detailed listing of what I got and what I didn't get.
Right.
And I was hoping that you would be able to look deeper into it. And I know we did update our data. Sometimes we get it and sometimes we didn't. So I just wanted to share that with you. So, and you have that list, so maybe you can dig deeper into it. So, thank you.
Were you done? I didn't want
So,
to cut you off. Let's hold questions till she's done.
Sorry.
Not a problem.
So the other question that I ask each school was, one, who sends it out? Is it you or your admin assistant? Two, when you send the robocall message out to the families for the late buses, what time are you doing it? Is it morning? Do you then send another message? Because I think the bigger issue is when we get that extra at 7:30 or 7:45, now the bus is even later. And that's where I think some of the hiccups are, and what I'm seeing, they're not seeing that email because their day has started, students. And so I think that is where some of the delay or issue may be, if something is coming in after that initial email at 6 a.m. And then in the afternoon, all principals, we don't really have the issue on letting them know ahead of time in the afternoon, but all the principals were very vocal in saying, we get all the information from DATCO, so on all our buses, because I asked them, I said, are there other buses that are late continuously? And I'm not talking 10 minutes late here and there. I'm talking a significant amount of time they're late that you don't get those emails from, and they all said no. So when you just kind of triangulate the data, our issue is, one, the contact info, and two, that email that's sent after that 6 a.m. time for that elementary route. So we have to do a better job, one, drivers reporting that to DATCO, because that's number one. DATCO doesn't know unless the driver updates them, and there is issue there. Two, us looking, like making a conscious effort, make sure we're looking, or maybe we need to then send those emails to, central office, to our transportation coordinator, and maybe she does that next level, because the schools are already rocking and rolling, and their day starts. I'm done now.
Okay, questions, I guess, first on bus, and then we'll ask questions for Dr. Hill. So, other questions regarding the DATCO issues? My only comment here is, obviously there's different places where there can be errors. And I think we want to make sure that we're doing everything we can as a district vis-à-vis our own staff to make sure that, obviously this was a whole new thing about how many, miscommunications there are. So I would hope there'd be an effort district-wide to let parents know that there are many people, without identifying anybody, just until you start digging into who are those different people. If you can identify them, remind parents in different ways to make sure their information is correct with cell phone numbers, landline numbers, or emails, everything is correct, and to check Power School periodically to make sure everything is up to date.
So what I can say, and I'm not trying to say anything against the technology department, they send it in nauseam, in nauseam. It's almost every other day email. If you don't, as a parent, I would actually encourage one of you not to fill it out at the start next year, just so you can so you can understand the amount of communication that's done through the school.
It was extra this year, I felt like.
Communication to, so and then we actually go the extra mile. We start having admin assistants call too. We do pick up the phone and before even school starts and having them call every single parent that has not updated their Power School registration.
Okay, other questions for Dr. Hill? Ms. Claes?
I don't know if it's a question, but maybe it's just a role for the board. Since we all have a liaison relationship, maybe we can get this back to the councils and PTOs too and help a little bit and help get the message out, update info.
That's a great idea. Mr. Panos?
Just when Ms. Batchelder did this, the idea of each bus having a GPS, so that if someone wanted to check where the bus is on their own, as say, then is there any is that available to parents?
So DATCO, this isn't something I would normally update the board on because it's just an everyday operation, but because of everything that's going on with DATCO. So DATCO is currently migrating to a new system, which hasn't been great either. So we've been dealing with that internally of getting them up and running on this new system they have implemented. They wanted to implement it as of July 1st. They didn't make that deadline. Then they said October 1st. We did all our stuff. And so since October about 6th through this Friday is what I'm told, they're kind of limping along. So right now there's actually not a place where parents can go and look to see where their stop is.
Yeah, because
I've written to the owner actually last week because I was all done with Windsor Terminal. I reached out to the owner of DATCO and he responded very quickly. And then one of the VPs responded after that. And they are promising me by this Friday that system will be up and running. And that the parent portal will be up and running, and so will our admin assistants at the school level be able to see buses, because we can't even see that right now. So that's above and beyond any issue you guys even knew about that I've already been trying to deal with. But, I'm not happy at all. And they know that. And we've reached out to other districts too, because some districts have already converted to this new software. And it's interesting how they're getting a lot better service than we are, in my opinion. And I'm not going to make judgment as to why. I have my own opinions, but it's a difference. And so now that's just another level or layer that I'm dealing with on that end. But to your question, so this new system, once it's actually up and running and working, we can then have that type of app that you're talking about, Mr. Panos, for parents to be able to actually pull up and see where their bus is. The only issue with that is if any bus ever gets combined, which we have now because of our shortage of drivers. So say bus 12 and 15 for Clover are getting combined tomorrow morning. Those parents of those kids on those buses won't be able to use the app that day because they can't make that flip quick enough. But
So
all
the
other
parents that
buses,
may need that information the most won't have it.
but on the flip side, in the afternoons where we don't double up, where we're actually going and then coming back and going and coming back, they'll be able to see where the bus is and how long until they get there.
I just point out that it's in the contract that they will have GPS systems. It's one of page 23.
So they have GPS systems
They
already
have this already,
for,
but,
that's
yeah.
how we track when, someone from the community says they're speeding or they missed a stop. That's how we check that. And we also have a geo fence new this year, which is how I was able to distinguish whether we crossed into East Granby. They can pull every second or minute the bus is, and that's how I had that detail from that communication.
Thank you.
Ms. Claes?
I was just wondering, when that app gets up and running, is it available, is that what at other languages? So is there like translation on the app?
I'll ask that. That's a great point.
Any other questions for Ms. Batchelder or Dr. Hill? Seeing and hearing none. Next item is 8A, Windsor High School Program of Studies 2023 to 2024, a first reading.
Mr. President, I move that the Board of Education approve the proposed changes to the Windsor High School 2023-2024 Program of Studies for a first reading.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Mr. Panos. And at this point, I think we're going to have our presentation.
Good evening. So we don't have a formal presentation for you today. As you can see from the document in front of you, this year we have over 20 pages of proposed changes. So instead, we're going to do it a little bit differently. So first of all, thank you for the opportunity to present the proposed changes to the Windsor High School Program of Studies for school year 23-24. As I've mentioned, we have a lot of edits or revisions this year. And so we've organized the proposed revisions into 3 categories: additions, changes, and deletions by department. So instead of a formal presentation or presenting each change line by line, I will present a very high-level overview of the proposed changes, again, by additions, changes, and deletions, and then I'll give the floor to Ms. Dana Fudge, who is our supervisor of counseling, for questions. So I'll get started with the overview of the proposed additions for the 2023-24 school year. So we've added a brief description of the Mastery-Based Diploma Assessment, which is a graduation requirement that was put in place by the Connecticut State Department of Education for the class of 2023. We've added a few courses, including Firefighter 1, which is co-taught by certified firefighters. We've also added multimodal academic composition, as well as advanced math decision-making. In the CTE department, we have a number of additions. We have added a career cluster list and infographic, and this is because the CTE department has done a lot of thoughtful work over the last year to both standardize course titles and descriptions, as well as adopt 12 career clusters to help students develop a course of study and link what they learn in school to the knowledge and skills that they will need to be successful in careers. So the 12 Windsor career clusters align with the 16 national clusters, as well as most of the Connecticut career clusters, and are as follows: architecture and construction, arts, AV, technology and communication, business management and administration, education and training, finance, health science, hospitality and tourism, IT, manufacturing, marketing, STEM, and transportation, distribution, and logistics. So that sums up the additions that we are proposing for the 23-24 program of studies. Moving on to changes, there are a number of minor changes to course descriptions across departments. In addition, there are a number of course name changes in the CTE department to standardize course names and clarify course sequence. So for example, under graphics, previously the course titles were graphics, applied graphics, and advanced graphics. So we are proposing that we change this to graphics 1, 2, and 3. And again, that's just to help standardize course names and clarify course sequence for both students, families, and counselors. We've also removed the references to the old career clusters, and we have updated them with the new 12 Windsor career clusters that I just went over. And finally, the special education program descriptions have been updated to provide more program information and also read prereq recommendation of PPT. And so that concludes the overview of the proposed changes. And then finally, for the deletions, we have removed the previous graduation requirements as they were for the class of 2022 and now outdated. We have also removed the African American and Latinx history, and that's because it has now been replaced with the state required course. And we have also removed Latin 1 through 4. So now that I have provided a high-level overview of the additions, changes, and deletions, I'll now turn it over to Ms. Fudge for any questions that you may have in regards to the 23-24 program of study changes.
And my suggestion is we kind of go page by page. If people have things in the first few pages, including, you know, I like the idea of the way the clusters are done and the pathways. And I was talking to Ms. Fudge beforehand, before we started the meeting, that was great. So, wants to start it off with any questions? Ms. Cantor?
Thank you, President Fury. Good afternoon or good evening, Ms. Fudge.
Good
I do
evening.
have a few questions on the firefighting class. I was wondering if you could tell me, where does the practical experience take place? What is the duration for the practical experience? And is there continued practical experience with weekly testing, like the frequency for that course?
So the course.
Thessalonians might be able to ask. I mean, tell me that.
I'll yield to her first and then I'll.
Okay, so the course is actually taught at the high school. Someone from the fire department is coming in and they are working with our identified teacher who is actually also working with them to teach the course to our students. The practical work, it actually comes to them. Like I think today, if I'm not mistaken, I saw the fire truck there. The kids were actually in uniforms. They were getting everything explained to them. So it's actually being brought to them, to the classroom, to the building. So everything gets done right there for them.
Will they have the opportunity to go to the fire academy or one of the fire departments to do any training there?
Yes, so I will just add, if you don't mind jumping in. Yes, so there are definitely career-connected experiences that will be embedded within the course. This is the first time that we're running the course, so it's a pilot, but I can say in speaking to the certified fire instructors that they are absolutely planning to have field experiences, so, you know, training trip and then over to the firehouse, things like that. So yes, the majority of the learning will take place at Windsor High School, but there will also be opportunities for off-site learning and practical experiences as well.
Great, thank you.
Yes, and they would also like to obviously add more components, different, opportunities for the kids.
Sure.
This is just the first stop.
There's definitely a practical component to this where they're using one of the, I don't want to say extra engines, but we do have spare engines in town just in case one of them go offline. They are using the actual engine. They're actually getting the practical skills by everyone that's hands-on with them from the fire department, are certified fire service instructors. They do have the appropriate training to provide this. In order for them to go into the fire academy, though, we may have resources come in to interact with the kids, but for them to actually go into the fire academy, they would have to actually join a particular fire department, whether it's paid or volunteer, and go through the process of that town to be able to go into said training. But this is definitely a baseline of what they would actually see, actually hands-on, bunker gear, gloves, actually going through. The only negative is that once they get started, they got to wrap it back up because it's only one block. So we may have to retool and redeploy this and maybe think about this being a double block at some point for them to get the full impact. But as of right now, It's hands-on, and they get treated like we get treated. So they understand what's going on.
Great, thank you.
It's clearly the kind of class that's an advantage of having block schedules, though, versus having a 45-minute class to
Absolutely.
to do that in.
Yep.
Other questions? Mr. Panos?
Is this, wait, you mean on anything?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you were going page by page.
Well, we are.
Did you?
We are, but you don't have anything on the first page?
Oh, we're still on the first page. I missed something. Let me go back to the first page and we'll start all over
I
again.
was on page 19 personally.
Yes.
No. Okay, I'm fine.
Mr. President, to you.
Yeah. Again, on the career clusters, I think I like the way this is organized so that students have an idea by looking at, if they look at this, hopefully they will, and they have a certain interest to see what are the kind of related classes that they could take. I think I was mentioning before to you that we're not ready to be a Cheney Tech, but we want to have the opportunities, and the board has expressed that have more opportunities for different pathways early on, because many students may decide, we want to make sure if they want to go to college, whether it's a 2-year or 4 years, they can do that and not have to, go to Snuntuck or Manchester Community College and take remedial classes. We want to be able to know that our graduates can get full credit towards college by going to a 2-year school. But this also may pique their interest of going to a technical college
Absolutely.
afterwards to see these. And again, the importance too is really with the guidance department to talk to students and talk to parents and about these different pathways that exist. And I know I'm excited about the way this has been organized.
Absolutely, so are we. So I think this would not only help the students and the families, but it would help my counselors as well in guiding the discussions with students and families about the opportunities and the pathways. So I think it's going to help all around for all of us.
The same thing, when we, talking to Ms. Taylor the other day, a lot of the schools in Hartford are somewhat themed. It's still called Buckley High, it's still called Hartford High School in Weaver, but each one has they're not regional schools anymore, or area schools that you
Absolutely.
can decide if you want green technology, you're going to go to Hartford Public for that. And if you're interested in nursing, you go to a different school.
Yes.
And so this gives us those opportunities, so.
Yes, it does.
Very excited about that. Other questions? Anything on the program of studies? Mr. Lockhart?
Mr. President, I guess seeing here no other questions, I guess if I may ask through you, can you ask the minority leader, would he be open to a substitute motion to waive the second reading?
That's good. Nah.
He's going to come back with a lot of questions tomorrow.
Oh, no.
That's it. No, I mean, I thought we were going to go through, I do have a few questions here.
Well,
If you could just,
Well, if you want this to come back in November, I'm okay with it, but seeing that there's been no commentary, Mr. President, I figured it would be in the best interest of
Well,
the
that-
board and administration to waive the second
no,
reading.
you're misinterpreting the silence. The reason why there has a second is because we're nonplussed here. Let me just ask a few,
Maybe if
Just
he
to
gets
get you
the
going
answers
here.
he's looking for, we'll be able to make that motion.
I tried.
Could you just clarify?
Yes, you did.
Maybe you could just clarify a few things.
Yes.
Like, what's MBDA mean? What?
That is the mastery-based diploma assessment.
Okay.
So that is one of the new graduation requirements for the class, starting with the class of 2023, the 25 credits, they have to complete a credit in a mastery-based learning assessment. So for Windsor, it's several courses identified that would meet that actual criteria. There's a rubric, a special rubric for those courses, and students that take that course, they will follow the rubric with that teacher, and if they complete the course, earn the credit. and they will have satisfied the requirement for MBDA.
Right, I saw it, on the website, on some website
Yeah.
somewhere, and I didn't quite understand, but it's an actual course that we did.
It's
It
courses
sounds like an
that,
assessment, and then
Yeah.
but it's a course. And
so what it is, every school district had the opportunity to come up with what they were going to use to meet this graduation requirement. Some schools came up with an actual course. Some schools identify certain courses that we already teach that can meet the requirements. Other schools came up with whatever they decided on to meet that requirement. So for Windsor, we identified several courses that are already being taught that we felt by adjusting the rubric, we could meet the requirement for this mastery-based assessment. So it's
But
not
they don't have to take a special course.
not a special course, no.
Some kids do. But
Not at our school. This is just other
Oh, not at
districts.
ours.
Not at our
Oh.
school. At our school, we have identified several courses. If they take these courses, then it will go towards the requirement for MBDA. It's not a separate course. It's already courses that we offer.
is it kind of, it's an idea, it gets towards the idea of a comprehensive in order to get a diploma? Is that the idea?
Yeah. It's the idea that all students learn differently and to give them an opportunity to learn at their own pace and so it's at their own level of learning.
Okay. Some of the courses you have here are, are listed, but but you say the course is not being offered, for example, and then, so, you have, it says you change the course title or something like this, and it's here, but it's not being offered. Why is it not being offered?
So if a course isn't being offered, usually they swap courses from year to year. Each department, they have so many electives to offer, they can't offer everything every year. So they kind of, one year will offer certain courses, and then the next year they don't offer it and offer the ones they didn't offer. So it's like a trade-off each year as to what they're going to offer.
Okay. On a math question, page 12, if you're following here, I'm looking at the math section change at the bottom of the page 12, the second from the bottom. Remove students who fail a course. Remove, quote, students who fail a course will continue to move on to the next course in the sequence, as well as recover the credit for the failed course.
So I think what that
I
means.
didn't quite, what does the as well as?
So what
here
it
mean?
means is a student will be able to continue on in their math sequence and recover the credit through like Ingenuity or something like that. So they're not going to be held back from not being able to move on to their next math course
Okay.
because they didn't pass a math course. They can, while they're taking their next math course, be recovering the math course that they lost.
But it doesn't,
It
okay,
says it's-
so it does not mean that if and only if they recover the credit, they can, they take the credit recovery course and don't pass it or something. Can that happen? I don't know. If they,
Well, the only way you don't recover the credit is if you don't do the work to recover the credit. So they have ample opportunity to recover that credit. They are offered opportunities up until they are graduating to recover that credit. Obviously, if they never do what they need to do to recover the credit, then that jeopardizes their opportunity to graduate. But we offer ample opportunities for them to recover the credit they lost. Whether it's through summer school, during the school year, they have opportunities.
and so this change here that you have, which it says, this only applies to Algebra 1 and Geometry. Right, so this whole math section, this is being removed. So I'm trying to understand what the change is. Can you-
So what's being removed is just the statement. They don't want the statement any longer.
And because they don't need it, because after all, who
Yeah,
cares?
they don't need the statement any longer to be.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, that makes sense. You have a, on the concert choir,
Concert choir
yeah,
for music.
page 14 at the top, does it add concert choir in the high schools? It says course description, and it goes on to say, what was it before? If you go to the previous page, page 13 at the bottom, says, course description change, gospel choir. Remove prerequisite, 1 year concert, choir, and audition.
So they
So-
no longer want you to have to audition to be in the gospel choir. So anyone can join without having to have had concert choir before. The prerequisite was you had to have had concert choir and you had to audition to be in it. They're taking that away now. So you don't have to audition any longer and you don't have to do the year of concert choir ahead of time. So she just wants that prerequisite removed. She's offering more opportunities to get more kids into the program.
So anybody can do this. You're
Anybody
trying to
can
say-
do it.
If there's,
As long as
if there's room in the choir,
yes, students only.
This is a
class.
welcoming church.
Yes, she's offering more opportunities for more students to be able to join.
The Bible does say, come as you are, but you have to change.
So you-
You have to be able to hold the tune
I mean,
a little bit.
they accept frogs or something.
You got to be able to hold you got to be able to hold the tune. You got to be able to hold the note.
You don't even have to know the note.
No, you got to be able to hold the note.
Hold the note. You got to be able to sing a little bit.
Wait a minute, that's a prerequisite?
It can
Hold
be
it.
horrible, but you got to hold it.
Yes, there you go.
Oh, boy. So, Ms. White agreed to this?
Yes, she was the one that's wanted it.
She's a miracle worker.
Okay, I know.
She wanted
She
it.
is good, yeah. Okay, moving right on. Page 14, in the, on the science,
Did you say 19, sir?
14.
14.
It says course description, physics, CAP. And it says
Yes.
add prerequisite calculus or concurrent. This course is equivalent to an introductory mechanics course for university students majoring in physics or engineering. The emphasis, though, is on the description is for electricity and magnetism, not introductory mechanics.
Yes, so that's the course description that we had for physics CAP. So we're just adding the prerequisite, and I just put the rest of the description of the course there. So
Well-
that is
Well,
what is taught.
my only confusion was that the description fits electricity and magnetism, which is the second half of a survey physics course, whereas mechanics is the first semester. So it says here, the emphasis for a mechanics course is an understanding concept of electrostatics, conductors, that's electricity. He's talking mechanical. So I think you've got to change the description here.
So I can check into that. I'll speak with the STEM supervisor for this
Right.
and see what
There's
she
no
says.
else.
But it's also not being offered because of the fact that we now offer the AP Physics in mechanics and an AP Physics class in electromagnetics. So we have two separate courses now that are being taught. So
Right.
this course particularly hasn't run, I think, in the last few years, which why it says at the bottom, it's not even being offered, and it hasn't been offered in the last few years. But I will check
But
into
just-
the description.
Just.
Yes,
y- y-
absolutely.
Just check with the science thing. Let's see. You have, well, I guess this is okay. You have on the next page, page 15, course description change, chemistry, add prerequisite from C minus or better, algebra 1 to prerequisite algebra 1. I guess this is a change, maybe. It is recommended that students receive an average of a C minus or higher in algebra 1. Is that what the change is? It's changing from a prerequisite to a recommendation?
So we're adding the prerequisite in because it wasn't there. So they're adding in the prerequisite of a C minus or better in Algebra 1 to prerequisite of, we're changing it. So yes, it is an update. It's just the updating of the wording is different, but it pretty much kind of says the same thing, but it's just the wording is different. The changing up from a recommendation to a prerequisite.
Oh, okay, so
Yeah.
it's from the recommendation to the prerequisite?
Yes.
Okay.
So we're just
that's
switching
what
up the
It
wording.
looked, and my poor
I know.
reading ability looked it backwards.
It's a lot.
I read it backwards, I guess, I don't know.
You're human.
I was gonna say, I am not.
Yes, a lot of the changes are just changing of wordings from things that say recommendation to prerequisites or vice versa. So just a lot of changing of the words.
Okay. There's even this, something similar here is going on with the environmental science to, what is that qualification?
Yep, pretty much the same thing in that one as
Okay.
well. Yep.
And then you have the other prerequisite. I think those are most, let's see, I don't have any complaints about the special ed. Now, let's see here, remove the prior, let's go to the deletions here. It says, remove the prior graduation requirements.
What page you want,
This
sir?
thing over here.
Page
It's
20?
page 20.
Okay, thank you.
So this class of 22 had only 20, the requirement was only for 23? And
Yes.
so, okay,
It's
so
been
you're
increased.
removing this?
Yes,
And
'cause-
what you have listed
Absolutely,
here
because we now
after
have
is
the newer
25?
graduation requirement. Yep.
Okay. And now, you explain the removal of the African-American and Latinx history because we have the state.
Because we have the new
requirement.
state required
Now,
course.
was this African-American Latinx history the same one that was put in about 8 years ago?
This was put in a few years back. I don't know exactly if it was 8 years ago, but it was offered as a course prior to the new state required one that we got approval for last year to offer
Right,
for
I
this
just
year
was
moving
wondering how
forward.
many years it had been.
Been there for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You would think what? Yeah, oh, okay, all right. So it really is old? We'll drink to that, that's it. All right. The other one in here is comparative government and government and politics. Is this just something that is phased out or not needed?
So, actually-
It's not popular or something?
No, what it is actually is we don't even offer the course. So at some point, it got added into the program of studies, and it should not have been. This is not a course that we're offering right now. We do offer a government course, but it's not this one. It is actually AP US Government and Politics that we offer. So I don't know what year this got put into the program of studies, but I recognize that it was there and needed to be removed because we do not offer it at the high school. And it's not even listed under the course description. It's just listed under special programs like ECE AP, where we list what courses we offer, and that's the only place it was found listed under the section about AP courses we offer. It was in there, but it's not under social studies or anything like that as a course description. So it was just somehow entered in there as an error, and I'm just having it taken out.
Okay, I think I don't know if we're going to look at this anymore. Do you think we have any reason to look at this and compare it? It would have, it's kind of difficult to review this checking, on the screen. It would have been a lot easier if I had a book, that say,
Okay.
can we get a book with Sally? Sometime, I would like to, in order to be able to look at it. So I don't know if there's really anything that I have anything to add to this. So maybe we could go for the second reading here, if you really want to.
If you're
You
open
really should, I bet we should obey the rules sometimes.
Actually, I am obeying the rules. That's part of our bylaws, where we have the right to waive a second reading with the approval of the board.
But before we do that, I do have one or two questions. The first is on page 11.
See? What did they tell you?
I thought Mr. Panos was going to be asking all the questions that I had, so I was flabbergasted here that I actually may have one or two that weren't covered. The first is at the top of the page, course description changed. The STEAM guitar project, a sampling of technology, education in the arts, add courses not being offered. Is this one just not being offered currently? I know it was a very popular, steam guitar
Currently.
was one of the most popular.
It's just currently not being offered.
We do not have is that because we don't have a teacher, or?
That is part of the problem. And also, I believe some funding was part of the issue with money needing to be, So we didn't have the money for the course that needed to get the equipment and things that were needed, and then a teacher.
Okay.
So it's not being offered right now for those reasons.
And the second question, it does have to do with the same page, or pages 11 and 12, the math sequence.
Yes.
I mean, historically, we've had Algebra 1, then Geometry, then Algebra 2.
Yes.
So what was the reason for the change?
So I have that right here for you,
Okay.
because I had to ask them myself. So the new model will now have, that students will have learned all of the Algebra 2 skills that covered in SATs when they take the test. So now they will have the knowledge that they need. So my understanding is Algebra 1 to Algebra 2 is more logical in terms of content, scope, and sequence. Plus, when students take geometry, they can now have higher level of algebra skills, so they could be successful in the geometry class. And they have been limited to using Algebra 1 skills. So this change will help them. So that's kind of why their reason is. I wasn't sure either, so I had to ask because I knew somebody was going to ask me that question.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hundreds of years of the sequence
And
probably
they're
gone
switching
in
it
an
up.
instant. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Mr. Lockhart, are you going to? Oh, Ms. Cantor, okay.
Emulated here.
I just wanted to thank you on that because I know it is more beneficial to have Algebra 1, Algebra 2, and then geometry.
Absolutely.
And then move into your pre-calc and your statistic courses.
Absolutely.
And that, so I just want to thank you. And then it gives other students, the ones that are really into the rigor, the high achievers, the opportunity to take that. I know some of the other kids are taking 2 of those in the freshman level. So then they can take the next year, the sophomore, they'll be taking junior,
Absolutely.
and then so forth. So, thank you.
Yep, you're welcome.
Any other questions? Seeing and hearing none, Mr. Lockhart?
Mr. President, I
Well-
offer, let's see here. I offer a substitute motion that the Board of Education approve the proposed changes to the Windsor High School 2023-2024 Program of Studies for a first reading and waiving the second reading.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion made by Mr. Lockhart, seconded by Mr. Panos, to have a substitute motion that would include that this is not only a first reading of the program of studies, but waiving the second reading.
Correct.
Any discussion? Seeing and hearing none, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Abstention, motion carries 900.
All right, thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
It only cost us 20 minutes.
Hey, Mr. Lockhart, I think you might be up again.
I do have another motion, Mr. President.
Yes.
I move that the Board of Education move agenda item 8B, discussion of the Wsasa contract, to after item 11, which is audience to visitors.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing and hearing none, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Abstentions? Did Nathan say aye?
Yes, he said aye.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Motion carries 900. Committee report, item 9, committee reports. I believe there are no committee reports. Item 10, matters, announcements, regular Board of Ed meetings. 10A, Board of Ed special meeting, Tuesday, November 1st, 2022, 6:30 PM in LPW boardroom. 10B, Board of Ed Curriculum Committee, Thursday, November 10th, 2022, 4:30 PM. That's going to be held virtually. 10C, next regular Board of Ed meeting is Tuesday, November 15th, 2022, at 7 PM in the boardroom. Next item is audience to visitor. Alexis? Oh. Thank you, Ms. Batchelder.
Good evening. This is Alexis Shack from the Superintendent's Office. If there is anyone from the public who would like to address the board, you may do so in two different ways. If you are using the Zoom application on your mobile device or computer, you may enter your comments into the Q&A feature located at the bottom of the Zoom menu bar. Or you may raise your hand on your computer if your device has a microphone by selecting the participant's icon on the Zoom menu bar and then clicking Raise Hand, or by dialing *9 on your phone. You will be given 3 minutes to speak. Please state your name and address. When you are called on, you will be promoted to panelist. After you make your comments, you will return to attendee status. For clear communication, we ask that you do not place the call on speakerphone. No comments can be made against the employees of the school district or children outside of your own.
Thank you. And as we had for the previous audience to visitor at the 2.5 minute mark, Vice President Lockhart will hold up a red card, and at the 3 minute mark, he'll keep that card up. And if the person is on a phone line or doesn't see on a Zoom call, Mr. Lockhart will intercede and let them know their time is up. Is there anybody online, first of all, who wants to address the board?
Mr. President, there are no individuals with their hand raised.
Okay. Anybody in the boardroom who'd like to address the board? Seeing and hearing none, without objection. If you could come to the.
I just want to talk about DACO. No, I'm just.
Yes, I think you should come up here because there was not enough discussion about that tonight, so.
I'm so sorry.
We needed that, though. Thank you.
I'm not going to state my name.
Seeing and hearing none other, I'm going to close audience to visitor and look to another motion. Mr. Lockhart.
Mr. President, I move the Board of Education enter an executive session to discuss the WSASA bargaining contract. We invite Superintendent Dr. Terrell Hill and Director of Business Services and Human Resources Daniel Batcho into executive session.
Is there a second?
Second.
By Mr. Panos. Any discussion? Seeing and hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Abstentions? Motion carries 9-0-0. We are now heading to executive session at 8:41. I don't think we need to bring anything.
No.
We have the contract with us.
It's here.
It's here.
I guess we could bring.
Yeah, bring up the, yep.
The contract that is in the packet.
In the pack. Oh.
Okay, it's 9:15. We're back from executive session, and I'll look around the room to see if there's any closing comments people have, starting with Ms. Clace.
I just wanted to let people know that the board members, and perhaps anybody who's watching that, at the coffee chat, one of the parents brought up the need to perhaps making sure we have announcements or anything that go to parents in other languages. So it might be helpful if that PTOs or their governance councils think about that when they're communicating with parents. And the other thing is, not at all, the problems with DACO certainly are mainly DACO, but one of the bus drivers actually did indicate that sometimes students are not ready to board the bus. And so it takes them a long time to get out of their car, get their backpack, they walk slowly to the bus. And she said, for every kid that's like that, I'm eating up 5 minutes of time at every stop. So prepping, maybe the PTOs and governance councils can encourage families to have their children ready to board the bus when the bus comes. Thank you.
Great idea. Thank you. Mr. Halleck.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is our last board meeting before Election Day, so I definitely want to encourage everyone, or our regular meeting, before Election Day, so I definitely want to encourage everyone to get out there and vote on Election Day on November 8th. In between now And then I definitely also want to encourage folks to get to know your candidates, especially on the local level. I feel that's very important to do. So we're all well educated, so we can go out there and make an informed decision on that day. So that's
Thank you.
all I have. Thank you.
Mr. Wollaston, if you can hear me, if you have any comments?
Yeah, I'll just echo Mr. Halley's comments. Just come on to both sides, that exercise your right.
Thank you. Ms. Galinsky?
Thank you. I'm going to go on a slightly different route, but, for anyone who celebrates Halloween, with their friends, family, or little children, just have so much fun and just be safe and enjoy yourself. So thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Taylor?
I had down vote November 8th. And also, Night of 1001 Pumpkins is at LP on October 26th. To piggyback on Ms. Galinsky, and Nightmare on Broad Street, which always is a great time for everyone, where the town shuts down our town center on Halloween, and that's always a great time too. But also be safe. Children are traditionally trick-or-treating as well, so everyone slow down, use caution as folks are out at night. What's another thing going on? I'm just hearing that our cross-country just won the conference, CCC conference, so we got to clap that up. That's important. And then, last but not least, happy 11th birthday to my Steven. He'll be 11 on Thursday. Love, Mommy.
I thought we'd get a comment about how the volleyball, the JV volleyball team is doing this year. Are they undefeated, or?
They're not undefeated. However, they're doing well. Thank you.
Okay. Ms. Cantor?
Thank you. I wish everybody to have a happy Halloween and be safe out there, and make sure you go and vote, and don't forget to honor our veterans and honor them every day, and our military and their families. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Lockhart?
I echo, please get out and vote, and happy Veterans Day to all the veterans, especially to our superintendent, since you're within our midst. I'm going to shift gears here as the finance chair. I want all board members to be very mindful of what the town council is trying to, is what they're in the process of discussing, which is the town center TIF, the district master plan. For those that don't know what a TIF is a tax increment financing district. And what I want us to do as good stewards of being responsible for funding the school district, I want us to take a look at long-term what we're going to need to continue funding our school district, but more importantly, how is that TIF going to impact the School Board of Education's funding, and what type of percentages, and how will it impact our funding moving forth 20 years from now, and then another 20 years after that, and will there be any funding that's going to be not coming towards the Board of Education because of this particular tax district. So we have to be very mindful of that. I do not believe this is a partisan issue. And as the 9 of us as Board of Ed members, we have to be very mindful of the funding sources that come into our budget process. And the decisions we make are long-term. And we have to be very mindful of the town council as the ones that approve our number. They don't tell us how to spend it, but they approve our number. And then it goes for referendum. So during this process, I'm going to be very intentional to keep us up to date on what the town council is doing on that particular topic, and it will behoove all 9 of us to make sure that we're on top of it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Panos?
Thank you very much for that introduction. I was there to complain about it last night. But anyway, yes, happy Halloween. Thank you.
Okay, I kind of ditto to what most people said. Happy Halloween, be safe, and again, support our veterans, those who are also currently in uniform. Thank them for their service, and it's great that we were able to celebrate on November 11th within our schools. And on that, I'm looking for one more motion.
Mr. President?
Yes, sir.
Move to adjourn.
Motion made by Mr. Lockhart.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Panos. Any discussion? Seeing and hearing none. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Abstentions? Motion carries, I'm assuming 900. We are adjourned at 9:21.
Good night. Good meeting, everyone.
Yep.